The wallet was heavy enough to change 2 lives, and Marisol de la Cruz knew it before she even opened it. It lay near the edge of a rain-darkened sidewalk in downtown San Francisco, half tucked beneath the metal frame of a newspaper box, black leather against gray concrete. Mari had almost stepped over it. She was late for the 6:30 breakfast shift at a small Filipino bakery on Mission Street. Her canvas shoes were already wet through, and the paper bag in her hand held the only clean blouse she owned. Another 5 minutes in the rain meant she would have to change in the restroom and hope the collar dried before customers arrived. Then she saw the wallet. She stopped beneath the awning of a closed pharmacy and picked it up. For 1 second, she simply held it. The leather was soft, expensive and warm in the places the rain had not reached. It did not feel like something that belonged on a sidewalk. Mari opened it. The first thing she saw was money, not a few 20s folded behind a driver's license, not grocery cash, a thick stack of $100 bills held by a silver clip. Her breathing changed. She counted without meaning to. 10, 20, 50. She stopped, started again and forced herself to slow down. $12,000. Mari closed the wallet so quickly that the snap sounded loud beneath the awning. $12,000. For the past 11 nights, Marie and her twin sister Isabella had been sleeping in a 24-hour laundromat whenever the overnight clerk allowed it, and in a church warming room when he did not. They owned 2 backpacks, 1 rolling suitcase with a broken wheel, 3 changes of clothes each, and a phone that only charged when the cable was held at an angle. Their mother, Luz, was working a temporary live-in caregiving job outside Sacramento, where employee housing did not allow family members. The twins had stayed in the Bay Area because Isa had finally been accepted into a community technology program, and Mari had picked up enough shifts to believe they could keep their room in Daly City. Then the owner of the house announced a major renovation. Everyone had 30 days to leave. 30 days became 14. 14 became 3. Every room they could afford required a deposit they did not have. Now Mari was standing in the rain with $12,000 in her hand. She could hear her mother as clearly as if Luz were beside her. Do not measure yourself by what you have, Anak. Measure yourself by what you do when nobody is watching. She opened the wallet again and checked the identification. The California driver's license showed a man in his early 60s with silver hair, a straight mouth, and the careful expression of someone accustomed to official photographs. Adrian Gabriel Mercer. The name meant nothing to her. Behind the license were several cards, all carrying the same name. One of them was metal, another had no visible number. There was also a building access card marked Mercer Pacific Group. Mari stared at it. She knew that name, everyone in the Bay Area did. A horn sounded. Mari flinched and shoved the wallet into the deepest pocket of her backpack. She did not go to work. Instead, she texted her supervisor that there was an emergency, then walked fast toward the BART station, pressing one hand against the backpack as if the money might somehow escape through the zipper. Isa was in the public library near Civic Center, sitting at a computer on the 2nd floor with headphones around her neck and a notebook open beside the keyboard. She had been there since the doors opened. Her dark hair was twisted into a loose knot, and she wore the faded denim jacket their mother had bought at a thrift store during their first winter in California. Mari dropped into the chair beside her. Isa took one look at her face and closed the coding tutorial on the screen. What happened? Mari pulled the wallet from her bag. I found this. Isa frowned. Okay. Mari opened it. Isa stopped breathing for a beat. That is not okay. 12,000. Isa's eyes lifted slowly. You counted it? Twice. For several seconds neither sister spoke. Isa touched the edge of the wallet, but did not reach for the money. Whose is it? Mari showed her the license. Isa read the name, then leaned back. Wow. Yeah. You know how much 12,000 would fix? Mari gave her a look. Isa lowered her voice. Deposit. First month. Maybe 6 months if we find something small. Your dental bill. My program fee. A laptop that doesn't shut off when I open more than 3 tabs. I know. Mom could leave that live-in job. I know. Isa looked at her for a long time. You already decided. Isa said. Mari looked down at the wallet. I was hoping you'd make me feel less stupid about it. Isa's mouth curved slightly. I can try to make you feel more stupid if that helps. It surprised her how close she was to crying instead. We need a room, she whispered. I know. We really need a room. Isa closed her notebook. Then we find one with money that belongs to us. Mari pressed her lips together. That was the problem with having a twin. Sometimes another person could say the exact sentence you were trying not to hear from yourself. They left the library together. Mercer Pacific Group occupied the upper floors of a glass tower on Market Street, not far from the Embarcadero. By the time the sisters reached it, the rain had thinned to mist. Mari had changed into the clean blouse from her paper bag. Isa had brushed lint from her jacket. Neither of them looked as if they belonged in the marble lobby, and both knew it. A security officer approached before they reached the reception desk. Can I help you? Mari straightened. We need to see Mr. Adrian Mercer. The officer's professional expression tightened almost invisibly. Do you have an appointment? No. Then you'll need to contact his office. We tried the number online. It goes to a general line. That's the appropriate channel. Mari nodded. She could feel Isa beside her, quiet but tense. Sir, we found something that belongs to him. We only want to return it. You can leave lost property with security. Mari hesitated. Then she took out the wallet. The officer's eyes changed. He recognized it before she even opened it. Where did you get that? On the sidewalk near Montgomery. He reached for it. Mari held it back. I want someone from his office to count what's inside while we're here. The officer stared at her. Mari stared back. Her heart was pounding, but her voice stayed steady. There is $12,000 in that wallet, she said. Every dollar that was there when I found it is still there. I want that clear before it leaves my hand. The officer looked from Mari to Isa, then toward the reception desk. He picked up the phone. 3 minutes later, an elevator opened at the far end of the lobby. A woman in a navy suit stepped out and walked directly toward them. Marisol de la Cruz? Mari nodded. The woman extended her hand. I'm Evelyn Park, Mr. Mercer's chief of staff. He would like to meet the two of you personally. Isa's fingers tightened around the handle of the broken suitcase. Mari looked at the elevator, then at the wallet still in her hand. Now, as the elevator doors opened, she had the strange feeling that returning it was about to create problems she could not yet imagine. The elevator rose so smoothly that Mari felt the movement only in her ears. She watched the numbers climb past floors she had never entered in any building. 31, 32, 33. Isa stood beside the rolling suitcase, one hand wrapped around the handle and the other tucked beneath her elbow. Evelyn Park faced forward, composed and silent, as if escorting two young women with wet shoes and all their possessions in a damaged suitcase to the office of a billionaire were an ordinary part of her morning. Mari kept one hand on the wallet. She still did not fully trust the situation. That instinct had grown stronger over the previous month. When you did not have a reliable address, every small decision became important. Which public restroom stayed open late? Which bus route had the warmest terminal? Which cafe employee would let you sit for an hour with one small tea? Where to charge a phone without having to buy something? Which places asked questions and which places simply let you exist? Mari had become good at noticing doors. She had not expected one of them to lead upward through 60 floors of steel and glass. Evelyn glanced at the suitcase. Do you want me to have someone hold that downstairs? No, thank you, Mari said quickly. Evelyn did not ask why. At the end of a long hallway stood a double door. Evelyn knocked once, opened it, and stepped aside. Adrian Mercer was standing by a conference table when Mari entered. His eyes went immediately to the wallet. For the first time since finding it, Mari understood that the money might not be the most important thing inside. Adrian did not greet them right away. He crossed the room and stopped a few feet from Mari. You found it? Yes. Sir? Where? She told him. He nodded once. Mari held it out. Adrian took the wallet carefully, almost with both hands. He opened it, checked the cash, then moved past the cards without much interest. His thumb slipped into a narrow compartment behind the license. He pulled out a small folded square of paper. His face changed. He unfolded the note. Mari looked away. It felt private. Adrian read the few lines, refolded the paper, and slid it back inside. "Everything is here," he said. Mari nodded. "I wanted someone to count the cash before we left." A faint smile appeared at one corner of his mouth. "I heard." Adrian motioned toward 2 chairs. "Please sit." The sisters sat side by side. The suitcase remained near Issa's knees. Adrian took the chair across from them instead of returning behind his desk. "There was $12,000 inside," he said. "Yes." "You knew that when you decided to bring it here?" "Yes." "And you knew who I was?" "Not at first. But before you came?" "Yes." Adrian rested the wallet on his knee. "Why didn't you take the cash?" Mari had expected the question. She still disliked it. "Because it wasn't ours." That's the simple answer. It's also the true one. His eyes held hers for a moment. Issa shifted beside her, but Mari stayed still. Adrian leaned back. "Most people would say $12,000 is a lot of money to return." Mari looked at her damp shoes. "It is. Was it difficult?" That question was different. Mari looked up again. "Yes." Adrian seemed surprised. "You're the first person this morning who has answered me without trying to sound impressive." "I'm not trying to impress you." Issa made a tiny sound that might have been a cough and might have been a laugh. Adrian noticed. This time his smile was clearer. Then he looked at the suitcase. "Are you traveling?" Mari's body tightened. "Not exactly." Issa looked down. Adrian waited, but Mari offered nothing more. He did not press. Instead he stood, walked to his desk, and opened a drawer. He returned with a white envelope and placed it on the table. "I'd like you to take this." Mari did not touch it. "What is it?" $2,000, a reward. Her answer came immediately. "No, thank you." Adrian blinked. "You haven't even discussed it with your sister." "She'll say the same thing," Issa nodded. "She's right." "You returned $12,000 and won't accept $2," Mari's hands tightened together. Evelyn lowered her head, suddenly very interested in a folder. Adrian stared at Mari, then let out a quiet breath that sounded almost like a laugh. "You're serious?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" Mari searched for the right words. "Because if we take money for giving back something that already belonged to you, then it changes why we did it." "Does it?" "For me, it does." Adrian looked toward Issa. "And for you?" Issa considered the envelope. "I would like the money," she admitted. "Very much." Mari turned her head. Issa lifted one shoulder. "He asked." Adrian smiled. Issa continued. "But Mari is right. We didn't bring it here to get paid." The room went quiet. Adrian picked up the envelope and returned it to his pocket. "Fair enough." Mari relaxed slightly. Then Adrian asked, "What do you do?" "I work at a bakery." "And your sister?" "I'm starting a technology certificate program," Issa said. "Starting?" "Hopefully." Adrian looked at Mari again. "And where do you live?" Mari felt the question land differently than the others. Her first instinct was to invent an answer. Daly City, with family, near school, somewhere ordinary. "Right now, we don't have a permanent place." Adrian's expression changed. Not pity. Mari was prepared for pity and would have hated it. This was closer to disbelief. "What does that mean?" "It means we're between places." Issa glanced at her. Mari sighed. "We sleep wherever we can, sometimes at a church, sometimes at a laundromat. We're looking for a room." Adrian looked at the wallet in his hand, then back at Mari. "You had $12,000. For about 40 minutes. You don't have housing." "That's correct." "And you returned it." Mari's cheeks warmed. "You already asked me that." He studied her for several seconds. "I suppose I did." Mari rose. "If everything is there, we should go. I already missed work." Issa stood too. Adrian got to his feet. "Your supervisor knows why." "No." "Why not?" "Because I found a billionaire's wallet sounds like a bad excuse." That earned a real laugh from him. It changed his whole face. Mari had the odd sense that the man himself was surprised by the sound. Evelyn walked them back to the elevator. Before the doors closed, Adrian called Mari's name. She turned. He held up the wallet. "Thank you, not for the money." Mari understood without asking. She nodded. The elevator doors closed. On the ride down, Isa whispered, "You told a billionaire we would only accept $12.40. $12.40 is what we spent. You are impossible. You came with me. Genetics are cruel." Mari smiled for the first time all morning. On the 61st floor, Hadrian remained standing near the window long after they were gone. He opened the wallet again and unfolded the note. The handwriting belonged to his daughter Sophia, for Dad, who always knows how to build something. "I hope someday you learn that people aren't buildings. Love, Sophia." Adrian read the sentence twice. Then he looked at the empty chairs where the twins had been sitting. "Evelyn," he said. She appeared in the doorway. "Yes." "Find out whether there is any legitimate way to help them without making them feel purchased." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "That's a very specific assignment. It's a very specific problem." "And if they refuse?" Adrian looked at the wallet. "Then we'll need to understand why before we offer anything at all." Mari returned to the bakery just before noon, expecting to be fired. Instead, she found her supervisor, Tessa Ramos, standing behind the counter with flour on one cheek and irritation written across the rest of her face. "Emergency?" Tessa asked. Mari tied on an apron. "Yes." "Everybody alive?" "Yes." "Anybody in the hospital?" "No." "Then your definition of emergency is already making me nervous." "I found a wallet." Tessa stared at her. "That's why you missed 5 hours?" "It had $12,000 in it." Tessa's expression froze. Mari lowered her voice. "It belonged to Adrian Mercer." For 3 seconds, Tessa said nothing. Then she grabbed Mari by the elbow and pulled her toward the kitchen. "You found what?" By the time Mari finished the story, Tessa had gone through disbelief, suspicion, amazement, and something close to anger. "You refused $2,000? "Yes." "Mari, I know." "No, I don't think you do know. I think maybe your brain stopped working somewhere around Montgomery Street." Mari started stacking pastry trays. "I didn't want a reward." "You need a bed. I know. You need money. I know. Isa needs tuition." Mari turned. "I know." Tessa stopped. Mari's voice softened. "That's why I couldn't take it. If I had an apartment and savings, maybe accepting a reward would feel normal. Right now it would feel like I was hoping he lost something so I could benefit from finding it." Tessa studied her. "Your mother did a number on you." Mari smiled faintly. "She would say she raised me correctly." "Same thing." Tessa let her work the rest of the shift. "Take it, no speeches, this is not a reward. It's food that will be stale tomorrow." Mari accepted. That evening she and Isa ate on a bench outside the main library while fog moved between the buildings. Isa had spent the day filling out forms for the technology program. The final enrollment deadline was Friday. She still owed $680 in fees. "I can defer," Isa said. Mari tore a piece of bread in half. "You already deferred once. It's not the end of the world." "No." "You say that like you're planning something." "I'm planning to work." "You already work. I'll pick up evenings." Isa looked at her. "And sleep when?" Mari took a bite of bread instead of answering. Their phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Mari almost ignored it. But something made her answer. "Hello? Ms. De La Cruz? This is Evelyn Park from Mercer Pacific." Mari sat straighter. Isa immediately leaned closer. "Yes." "Mr. Mercer asked me to call. He would like to invite you and your sister to dinner tomorrow evening." Mari's first reaction was suspicion. "Why?" Evelyn paused. "He would like to speak with you." "About what?" "He didn't ask me to explain it by phone." Mari's eyes narrowed. "Is this about the wallet?" "In a way." "Everything was there." "Yes, we know." "Then what else is there to discuss?" Issa touched Mari's arm and mouthed, "Be nice." Mari ignored her. Evelyn's voice remained calm. "He is not accusing you of anything, I promise." Mari did not like promises from strangers, especially wealthy strangers with offices 60 floors above the street. "Where?" Evelyn gave an address in Pacific Heights. "His home, 7 o'clock. A car can pick you up wherever you prefer. We can take the bus, of course." That answer bothered Mari more than resistance would have. "We'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. I'll text the details." After the call ended, Issa stared at her. "We are going. We don't know what he wants. That's why people go to conversations. Billionaires do not invite strangers to dinner because they want conversation. Maybe he wants to say thank you. He already did." Issa leaned back against the bench. "You know what your problem is? Several people have offered opinions today. You think accepting kindness puts you in debt." Mari stopped chewing. Issa continued more gently. "You let Tessa give us food because she called it leftovers. If she said she bought it for us, you would have refused. That's different. It really isn't." Mari looked across the plaza. Mari's throat tightened. She did not like needing people. Need had begun to feel dangerous because it gave everyone else the power to decide whether she was comfortable, fed, rested, welcome. She wanted 1 month in which no clerk could ask her to move along. One morning when Issa could leave a backpack somewhere without carrying everything she owned. One night when her mother called and Mari could say truthfully, "We're okay, you don't have to worry." But wanting those things made her vulnerable to any person who offered them. "We'll go," she said finally. Issa smiled. "I knew you would. Don't be smug. It's one of my few affordable hobbies." Across the city, Adrian Mercer was also thinking about the dinner. The facts were ordinary, in the way difficult lives often were. No scandal, no dramatic villain, no single terrible decision. Their housing had simply become too expensive. At the same moment their options became too narrow. Their mother, Luz, had taken a live-in caregiving contract outside Sacramento because it paid more and included a room. She sent money whenever she could, but much of it went toward an old family debt from relocating to the United States and supporting relatives back in the Philippines. The twins had insisted she keep the new position because it was the first stable job she had held in years. Evelyn placed the folder on Adrian's desk. "They're not asking anyone to rescue them," she said. Adrian read Mari's work schedule twice. "That may be the problem. You want to help?" "Yes." "She will resist." "I noticed." Evelyn sat opposite him. "Then don't offer charity. Offer structure." Adrian looked up. "Meaning?" "A temporary apartment tied to employment. Tuition tied to attendance. Work they can actually do. A path with an exit. Something that preserves choice." Adrian leaned back. "You have thought about this. I've worked for you for 14 years. Somebody has to think before you decide to solve a human problem like it's a construction delay." He almost objected. Then he remembered Sophia's note. "People aren't buildings." Adrian looked toward the window. "She used to say that." Evelyn knew who he meant. "Maybe that's why this matters to you." Adrian said nothing. His daughter lived in Seattle now, running a small design studio that worked with non-profit organizations. They exchanged polite messages, birthdays, holidays, occasional articles. Nothing had happened that could not be repaired, which somehow made the distance more embarrassing. Pride had turned weeks into months, then months into years. The wallet had been Sophia's gift on his 56th birthday. He had kept the note inside even after their relationship became careful. Adrian closed the folder. No press. Agreed. No photographs. Of course. No foundation announcement. Evelyn smiled slightly. "Now you are thinking like a person." He gave her a tired look. "Don't get used to it." That night, Mari and Issa slept in the church warming room on 2 folding cots beneath fluorescent lights that never fully dimmed. Mari lay awake listening to the soft rustle of blankets and the distant hum of traffic. In her jacket pocket was Evelyn's text with the dinner address. She read it once more before locking the phone. Then she turned toward Isa, already asleep on the next cot. Mary had spent weeks believing that their biggest problem was money. Now she was beginning to suspect that the harder question would be what to do when a door opened and she could no longer tell whether walking through it meant progress or dependence. The house in Pacific Heights was not what Mary expected. She had imagined gates, columns, maybe a driveway long enough to require directions. Instead, Adrian Mercer lived in a renovated brick townhouse on a quiet block overlooking the bay, elegant without looking like a hotel. Warm light glowed through tall windows. A potted calamansi tree sat near the entry, surprising Mary enough that she stopped on the sidewalk. Isa noticed too. "That's Filipino." "The tree is," Mary said. "We don't know about the billionaire." The front door opened before they could knock. Adrian stood there wearing dark slacks and a grey sweater, no tie, no jacket. "You came." He sounded genuinely relieved. "Thank you for inviting us," Isa said. Mary nodded. Adrian stepped aside. The entryway smelled faintly of garlic and ginger. Mary looked toward the kitchen. "Are you cooking?" "Attempting to." "What?" "Chicken adobo." Isa's eyebrows rose. Adrian pointed toward the kitchen. "Before you become impressed, Evelyn made the sauce and left written instructions. I have successfully followed approximately 70% of them." Mary could not help smiling. "Why adobo?" "I was told it would either make you comfortable or make you judge me. Apparently both outcomes are useful." Mary sat with careful posture. Isa immediately asked Adrian where he had found the calamansi tree. Isa laughed. Mary watched Adrian. Halfway through dinner, Adrian set down his fork. "Mary, you're waiting for the sales pitch." She met his eyes. "Am I that obvious?" "Painfully." Isa sipped water to hide a smile. Adrian folded his hands. "I asked Evelyn to learn enough about your situation to understand whether there was a practical way to help." Mary went still. "You investigated us?" "Without asking us." "Yes." Mary pushed her chair back an inch. Adrian immediately nodded. That was a mistake. The answer stopped her. She had expected justification. "You don't get to decide that because you have resources, you can look into our lives." "You're right." "You keep saying that." "Because you are." Silence settled over the table. Isa looked from one to the other. Adrian continued. "I wanted to help without embarrassing you. In trying to avoid one kind of disrespect, I created another. I'm sorry." Mary's anger did not disappear, but it lost its sharpest edge. Apologies were difficult to fight when they did not contain excuses. "What did you find out?" she asked. "Only what matters for the offer I'm about to make." Mary almost stood again. Adrian held up a hand. "You can say no, completely. Nothing changes about the wallet. Nothing is owed. What offer?" He took a folder from the empty chair beside him and slid it onto the table. Mercer Pacific has a residential training program for entry-level employees. It usually serves people relocating for work. There is a furnished two-bedroom apartment in one of our buildings in South San Francisco that will be vacant for the next year. I can make it available to you for 12 months. Mary stared at him. "Free?" "No." That surprised her. "You would each pay a small percentage of your income. The amount is listed in the folder. It would be well below market rate." Mary opened the folder. The number was low but not symbolic. It was real rent. Adrian continued. "Mary, one of our hotels needs a guest services coordinator. You would start as an hourly employee with training, not management, not a title created for you. Real shifts, real supervisor, real performance reviews." Mary looked up. "Why me?" "Because your supervisor described you as the person she trusts when something goes wrong. Hospitality is mostly what happens when something goes wrong." Mary's eyes narrowed. "You spoke to Tessa?" "Evelyn did. She asked Tessa's permission before discussing anything beyond your work performance." Mary made a mental note to have words with Tessa later. Adrian turned to Isa. "Your technology program has a scholarship fund supported by one of our vendors. It has unused money this term, Evelyn checked. If you apply, you qualify." Isa blinked. You wouldn't pay it? No. You would apply like anyone else. I would make sure the application gets reviewed before Friday, because the fund exists specifically for situations like yours. Isa looked at Mari. Mari looked back at the folder. It was infuriatingly reasonable. Why are you doing this? Mari asked. Adrian's expression changed. He reached into his pocket and placed the black wallet on the table, because of a note inside this. He opened the hidden compartment and removed the folded paper. My daughter gave me this wallet 5 years ago. Her name is Sophia. She was 27 then. She wanted to leave Mercer Pacific and build a career on her own. I thought she was making a mistake. Mari listened. I kept giving advice after she asked me to stop. I kept offering solutions after she asked me to listen. Eventually, every conversation became an argument about what I thought her life should look like. He unfolded the note, but did not pass it across the table. Nothing terrible happened. That's almost the worst part. There was no single moment big enough to explain why we stopped being close. Just small moments handled badly, over and over. Mari's anger softened into a tension. We still talk, Adrian said, if polite messages count. She lives in Seattle. She's doing well. Better than well. I am proud of her, though I have done a poor job saying it. He looked at the note. She wrote that I knew how to build things, but needed to remember that people were not buildings. Isa lowered her eyes. Adrian smiled without humor. I thought I understood it. I did not. Then yesterday, 2 young women walked into my office, returned money they needed, refused a reward, and walked back out into a situation I would have tried to solve in 10 minutes if you had let me. Mari felt the truth of that. Evelyn told me something afterward, Adrian continued. She said if I wanted to help you, I needed to offer a door, not carry you through it. He pushed the folder slightly closer. So, that's what this is. A door. You decide whether to open it. Mari's fingers rested on the edge of the page. This did not feel like rescue. It felt like being taken seriously. That was more frightening, because if she accepted, she would have no excuse not to succeed. Can we think about it? She asked. Please do. Until when? The apartment is not going anywhere. The job will be open for a week. Isa's scholarship deadline is Friday, Isa whispered. Tomorrow. Adrian nodded. That part requires a faster decision. After dinner, Adrian packed leftovers into containers and handed them to Isa without ceremony. Mari noticed and said nothing. At the door, Adrian stopped her. Whatever you decide, the wallet is settled. I know. Do you? Mari looked at him. I'm trying to. Outside, fog had settled over the street. The sisters walked toward the bus stop in silence. Halfway there, Isa stopped beneath a streetlight. I want to apply. Mari looked at her. Isa's eyes were bright. Not because of him, because I have wanted that program for a year. If there is a scholarship and I qualify, I want to apply. Mari nodded slowly. Then apply. And the apartment? Mari looked back toward Adrian's house. It felt one decision away. That was enough to terrify her. I don't know, she said. Isa slipped her arm through Mari's. That's different from no. Mari let out a breath. Don't get excited. Too late. They continued toward the bus stop, carrying containers of adobo and a folder that weighed almost nothing. Still, Mari held it against her chest more carefully than she had held the wallet. Mari did not sleep much that night. The church warming room was quieter than usual, but her mind would not cooperate. She lay beneath a thin grey blanket and stared at the ceiling while Adrian's offer rearranged itself into different shapes. A job, an apartment, a scholarship for Isa that already existed before they found the wallet. Every part of it had been designed to make refusal harder. That irritated her. It also impressed her. At 5 in the morning, she gave up on sleep, folded the blanket, and walked to the restroom to change for work. When she came back, Isa was awake and filling out the scholarship application on her phone. You started already? Isa did not look up. Deadline. Mari sat on the edge of the cot. What if we say yes? and it becomes a mistake. Then we fix the mistake. What if people at the hotel know? They probably will. What if they think I got the job because of him? Isa finally looked up. You did get the interview because of him. Mari frowned. I'm helping you, not comforting you, Isa said. There's a difference. Apparently everyone has decided honesty is good for me. It is. Mari sighed. Isa set the phone down. The question isn't whether he opened the door. He did. The question is whether you can do the work after you walk through it. Mari knew that. Knowing did not make it easier. At the bakery, Tessa confessed immediately. Before you start, yes, I talked to Evelyn. Mari tied her apron more tightly. You could have asked me. She asked about your work. I told her you were stubborn, responsible, irritatingly early and good with customers. You forgot charming. I was trying to be truthful. Mari gave her a look. Tessa softened. Take the interview. If the job is bad, say no. If the apartment has conditions you don't like, say no. But don't reject a chance just because someone handed it to you instead of making you suffer for it first. The words stayed with Mari all morning. At noon, she called Evelyn. I'll interview, she said. Only interview. Understood. And Isa is applying for the scholarship. Good. We haven't decided on the apartment. You don't need to today. Mari waited for pressure that did not come. When is the interview? Tomorrow at 10. Grand Harbor Hotel. Ask for Daniel Cho. Daniel Cho, the operations manager, was younger than she expected, maybe 40, with rolled shirt sleeves and a habit of tapping a pen against his notebook. I know how you got the interview, he said after they sat down. Mari appreciated the directness. Then you know why I'm nervous about it? Probably. Do you know about the wallet? Yes. Mari's stomach tightened. Daniel leaned back. I also know, Mr. Mercer told me something very specific. What? He said, if she isn't qualified, don't hire her. Mari blinked. He said that. Twice. It was annoying. The interview lasted 40 minutes. Why hospitality? Daniel asked. Mari thought about saying she needed money. It was true but incomplete. Because I notice when people are uncomfortable, she said. I think that's useful. Daniel stopped tapping the pen. It is. He offered her the job that afternoon. Not because of the wallet, he said, and not because Adrian Mercer owned the hotel. She would complete the same training as every other coordinator and begin on a 90-day probationary period. Mari read the offer letter 3 times. Then she cried in the restroom. Not loudly, not dramatically. She locked herself in a stall, pressed one hand over her mouth and let the tears come for perhaps 30 seconds. She was embarrassed by them, but they were not tears of sadness. They came from exhaustion, relief, and the sudden realization that the ground beneath her might finally stop moving. When she returned to the lobby, Isa was waiting with news of her own. I got the scholarship. Mari stared at her. Isa held up the email. Full tuition for the first term, renewable if she maintained the required grades. For a moment, neither sister spoke. Then Mari wrapped her arms around Isa in the middle of the hotel lobby. Isa laughed against her shoulder. People are looking. Let them. It was the first time in weeks Mari had said those words and meant them. That evening they called their mother. Luz answered from a small bedroom at the Sacramento area home where she worked. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore the pink sweater Mari had mailed her the previous Christmas. Why are both of you smiling like that? Luz asked suspiciously. Isa started talking first. The story came out in pieces. The wallet, the money, Adrian, the job interview, the scholarship. Luz listened without interrupting until the end. Then she said, You returned how much? Mari closed her eyes. 12,000. Luz made the sign of the cross. Anak. You taught us. I taught you honesty. I did not know I taught you to refuse $2,000. Isa burst out laughing. Mari stared at the screen. Even you? I am your mother, not a saint. They laughed until the tension dissolved. Then Luz became serious. Listen to me, Mari. Mari straightened instinctively. There is dignity in working for what you have, but there is also dignity in accepting a fair opportunity. Do not confuse pride with strength. Mari looked down. It was exactly the argument she had been resisting from everyone else. Coming from her mother, it found the place beneath the resistance. What if I owe him? Then be grateful. Gratitude is not the same as debt. Mari's eyes filled again. Mom, we're okay. Luce smiled. I know. You always say that. No, I mean, I think we actually might be. The next morning, Mari called Evelyn. We'll take the apartment. There was a brief silence. I'm glad, Evelyn said. We pay the percentage in the agreement. Yes. Utilities too. Yes. And if I lose the job? You have 60 days to transition out or find another qualifying position. It's in the contract. Mari nodded, though Evelyn could not see her. Okay. Okay. Mari looked at Issa, who was trying to celebrate silently across the library table. Okay. They received the keys that afternoon. The apartment was small and clean, on the 3rd floor of a modest building near a bus line. 2 bedrooms, a narrow kitchen, beige carpet, white walls, a refrigerator that hummed too loudly. Mari loved it immediately and refused to show it. Issa walked from room to room touching things, a door frame, a cabinet handle, the window latch. Then she went into the smaller bedroom and set her backpack on the floor. She stared at it. Mari understood. For weeks, their backpacks had gone everywhere with them, because everything important had to remain within reach. Now Issa could leave hers in a room and walk away. Mari entered the other bedroom. There was a simple bed beneath the window. On top of it sat a folded set of white sheets and a small envelope. Mari opened it cautiously. Inside was a note from Adrian. No speech, no lesson, no congratulations. Just one sentence. The door is yours now. What happens after this is up to you. Mari sat on the edge of the bed. She read the line again. Then she placed the note in the top drawer of the nightstand, closed it, and looked around the quiet room. For the first time since losing their rental, nobody could ask her to leave before morning. That realization did not make her feel rescued. It made her feel responsible. And strangely, that felt better. The first morning in the apartment, Mari woke at 4:38 before the alarm had a chance to ring. For several seconds she did not know where she was. The room was too quiet. There were no dryers turning behind a laundromat wall, no folding chairs scraping across a church floor, no footsteps passing close enough to make her check whether her backpack was still beneath her arm. There was only the steady hum of the refrigerator in the next room and the faint sound of buses beginning their routes 3 floors below. Mari sat up. Her backpack was on the chair. Her shoes were beside the bed. The door was locked. She checked it anyway. Then she laughed quietly at herself and went to the kitchen. Issa was already there, standing in front of an open cabinet. We have a problem, Issa said. Mari's stomach tightened. What? We own no coffee. Mari stared at her. Issa pointed at the empty shelf with great seriousness. This is what happens when people give you an apartment but forget the essentials. We can buy coffee. Listen to you. Homeowner confidence after one night. Temporary tenant confidence. Still progress. They ate toasted bread from Tessa's bakery and made a list on the back of an envelope. Coffee, rice, eggs, laundry soap, dish soap, cooking oil, toilet paper. Mari wrote prices beside each item from memory. Then she opened the budget spreadsheet Issa had created and entered the percentage of rent they would owe once her hotel paycheck started. Seeing the numbers calmed her. Numbers did not flatter anyone. They did not pity anyone. They either worked or they did not. At 8:30, Mari arrived at the Grand Harbour Hotel for orientation. The hotel rose near the waterfront, all glass, brass, and carefully arranged flowers. Guests entered through revolving doors without thinking about how many people had already worked to make the lobby look effortless. Mari noticed the bell staff checking luggage tags, the front desk watching 3 screens at once, a maintenance worker adjusting a loose panel near the elevators, and a housekeeper moving quickly behind a service door before anyone in the lobby noticed her. Daniel Cho met Mari beside the front desk. He handed her a name badge, Marisol de la Cruz. She looked at it longer than she meant to. Problem? Daniel asked. No. Good, because I have another one for you. He nodded toward a woman in a grey blazer carrying 2 clipboards. Natalie Brooks, Guest Services Coordinator. She is training you for the next 2 weeks. Natalie extended a hand. You are the wallet person. Mari felt her shoulders tighten. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Natalie. What? She is. Mari shook her hand. Apparently. Natalie studied her for half a second, then smiled. Good. Now that we got that out of the way, can you use the reservation system? No. Excellent. I love starting from 0. By 10, Mari's head hurt. The hotel used systems for room inventory, guest requests, maintenance reports, event scheduling, transportation, lost property, loyalty accounts, and internal messages. Every action seemed to require a code. Natalie moved through the screens without looking at the keyboard. Mari wrote everything down. At 11:15, a charter bus pulled up 45 minutes early, carrying a high school robotics team from Oregon. 27 students, 4 adults, 12 hard-shell equipment cases, and 1 advisor who looked as if he had not slept since Sacramento. Their rooms were not ready. The lobby filled quickly. Natalie started calling housekeeping. The front desk began checking which rooms could be released first. One of the advisors asked whether the students could sit somewhere without blocking the lobby. Mari looked toward the ballroom corridor. Is Harbor Room C being used? She asked. Natalie did not look up. Not until 4. Could they wait there? Maybe. Mari glanced through the glass doors. Their bus is double-parked. The equipment cases are taking the whole curb. If we move the cases into the room too, the driver can leave and come back later. Natalie stopped typing. Mari continued, suddenly unsure whether she was overstepping. There is water in the conference pantry. We could set out cups. Maybe some fruit if Banquet has extra. They have probably been on that bus for hours. Daniel, standing several feet away, looked at Natalie. Natalie looked at Mari. Call Banquet, Natalie said. I will clear the room. 15 minutes later, the lobby was calm again. No applause, no dramatic thank you. The robotics students sat in Harbor Room C comparing small machines while their advisors drank coffee. Their equipment was secured. The bus was gone. Housekeeping had time to finish the rooms properly instead of rushing them. Mari preferred it that way. At lunch, Daniel sat across from her in the employee cafeteria. Why did you notice the conference room? Mari shrugged. It was empty. So were 3 other rooms. She thought about it. That one had a door wide enough for their cases, and it was near the restrooms. Daniel nodded. Hospitality is mostly noticing the thing that becomes a problem 10 minutes before everyone else notices it. Is that a compliment? Do not get comfortable. Mari smiled. Late that afternoon, Adrian Mercer crossed the lobby with Evelyn and 2 executives. Mari saw him before he saw her. For one nervous second, she expected him to approach, ask how she was doing, or say something that would make everyone around her remember why she had been hired. He did none of those things. When their eyes met, Adrian gave one small nod. Mari nodded back. Then he kept walking. She had not realized how much she needed that. At 6:30, she returned to the apartment carrying 2 grocery bags. Issa was sitting cross-legged on the living room floor with her laptop open and 3 printed pages spread around her. First day? Issa asked. My brain has become 12 hotel systems. Did they fire you? Not yet. Then successful. Mari unpacked rice, eggs, coffee, soy sauce, vinegar, frozen vegetables, and a small bag of calamansi from a Filipino market near the bus stop. Issa held up the coffee. Now it is officially a home. They cooked garlic rice and eggs and ate at the tiny kitchen table. Afterward, Mari showed Issa her first work schedule, and Issa showed Mari the orientation portal for her technology program. For the first time, their plans reached further than the next morning. Sunday laundry, Issa's Tuesday class, Mari's Thursday training review, a video call with their mother Friday night. Their lives had appointments again. Before bed, Mari opened her email and found a message from Evelyn Park. The subject line read, Paid advisory session, transitional housing pilot. Mari frowned. The message was brief. Mercer Pacific was reviewing a small housing initiative for young adults facing temporary instability. Adrian wanted Mari's feedback because she had first-hand experience with systems that looked reasonable on paper and failed in real life. The session would be paid at the same hourly consulting rate as other community advisors. She was free to decline. Mari read the message twice. Issa leaned over her shoulder. Paid? Issa said. I saw that. Advisory. I can read. He is learning. Mari looked around the apartment, at the grocery receipt on the counter, the work badge beside her keys, and the closed bedroom door where her backpack could stay all night without being held. A week earlier, she had believed accepting help would make her smaller. Now someone was asking her to contribute something money could not buy from her. Experience. Mari clicked reply. I have questions, she typed. Then, after a moment, she added, but yes, I am interested. Mari arrived at Mercer Pacific the following Wednesday with a notebook, 3 questions about the consulting agreement, and a promise to herself that she would not be impressed by the view. The view was extremely impressive. She ignored it. The meeting took place in a conference room on the 48th floor. Adrian sat at one end of the table, but he did not lead. That job belonged to a woman named Renee Castillo, director of a Bay Area non-profit that helped young adults move from emergency housing into stable rentals. 2 architects joined by video. Mercer Pacific's human resources director was there, along with a property manager and a financial analyst. Mari had expected a conversation. Instead, she found a project. Renee slid a packet toward her. This is an early draft, she said. Please be difficult. Mari looked at Adrian. You hired the right person. Evelyn covered a smile with her hand. The proposal involved converting a modest apartment building in Oakland into short-term housing for young adults who were working, enrolled in school, or actively entering a training program. Residents could stay for up to 9 months while paying a reduced monthly amount based on income. On the surface, Mari liked it. Then she reached page 6. Why is curfew 7:30? The property manager answered. Safety and accountability. What happens if someone works in a restaurant? There can be exceptions. Who approves them? The site manager. Every shift? The room became quieter. Mari turned a page. Mandatory workshops Tuesday and Thursday at 6. Same problem. The financial analyst made a note. Residents need programming, he said. Some do. But if someone gets offered a closing shift and has to choose between work and a required workshop about getting work, that makes no sense. Renee nodded slowly. Mari kept reading. 1 locker per resident. No storage outside bedrooms. Intake appointments between 9 and 4. Printed proof of employment required. 1 missed case management appointment generated a warning. Mari tapped the page. What if they do not own a printer? They can email documents. What if their phone is off? Another pause. What if everything they own is in 2 bags? Where do they put those bags during intake? What if they work mornings and can only come after 5? What if their manager changes the schedule the night before? What if they are embarrassed and they say they are fine when they are not? She stopped. The last question had come out more personally than she intended. Adrian did not rescue her from the silence. He simply wrote something in his notebook. Renee leaned forward. What would have helped you? Mari looked at the packet again. She thought about the laundromat, the church warming room, the library outlets that always seemed occupied, the way she and Issa carried every important paper in plastic sleeves because they could not risk rain destroying an identification card or school form. A place to charge a phone without buying coffee, she said, a secure locker big enough for a backpack, Wi-Fi, a printer, transit information, somewhere to cook rice instead of spending money on takeout, a person who explains rules without making you feel like you are being tested, flexible appointment hours, and a mailing address you can use on a job application without having to explain your whole life. The architects began taking notes. Mari continued. Also, do not make every room look temporary. One architect looked up. What do you mean? People know when furniture was chosen because no one expects them to care about it. You do not need expensive things. Just things that make a room feel like someone is supposed to live there, not pass through as fast as possible. Renee smiled faintly. That may be the best design note we get all month. The meeting lasted 2 hours. By the end, the 7:30 curfew had become a flexible quiet hours policy. Mandatory evening workshops had become multiple weekly options. Intake would be offered during evenings twice a week. Each resident would receive secure document storage, building Wi-Fi, access to computers, and a transit starter card. Mary left the conference room almost dizzy. In the elevator, Adrian stood beside her. You disagreed with half the proposal. You asked. I know. Are you annoyed? No. I am wondering why we paid consultants for 6 weeks before anyone asked what happens to a person who works a closing shift. Mary looked at him. Because people design for the schedule they have. Adrian nodded. That sentence is going in the next meeting. Then I charge royalties, he laughed. At the hotel, Mary's second week of training became more demanding. Natalie had stopped treating her like a beginner who might break the reservation system and started treating her like a competitor. We have a game, Natalie announced one afternoon. I do not like the sound of that. Daniel gives us a fake operations problem. We each get 10 minutes. Best solution wins. What do we win? The right to be unbearable until the next round. Mari considered this. You were already unbearable for free. Natalie grinned. You are learning. Daniel's first scenario involved a conference group arriving while 2 elevators were temporarily unavailable for routine maintenance. Natalie created a clean staffing plan with staggered luggage delivery and express check-in desks. Mary focused on redirecting foot traffic and offering guests a reason not to crowd the lobby. Daniel chose Natalie's plan. Mary hated losing more than she expected. Her plan was better, Daniel said. I know. You look offended. I can know something and dislike it at the same time. Natalie passed behind them. That is healthy growth, wallet person. Mari threw a pen at her. Natalie caught it. The rivalry became the best part of training. Natalie was faster with systems, staffing ratios, and formal procedures. Mari noticed physical details Natalie overlooked, where lines formed, which doors created bottlenecks, when a waiting guest needed information before needing a solution. They challenged each other without pretending they had the same strengths. At home, Isa's classes began. She filled the apartment with index cards, charging cables, and tiny diagrams taped beside her desk. Her first assignment was to design a simple digital tool for a real-world problem. I am thinking housing resources, she told Mari. Mari dropped her work bag by the door. Because apparently we cannot have one conversation that does not become a project. We are productive now. It is upsetting. Make something useful, not something that looks pretty in a presentation. Isa lifted an eyebrow. You went to one advisory meeting and became management. Correct. Friday evening, the apartment buzzer sounded while Mari was washing dishes. She dried her hands and pressed the intercom. Hello? A familiar voice answered. If my daughters plan to become successful Americans, they could at least answer their mother's messages faster. Mari froze. Isa looked up from the table. Is that Mom? Mari was already running for the stairs. Luz de la Cruz stood in the lobby with one suitcase, a canvas grocery bag, and a foil-covered tray balanced on top. Her temporary caregiving assignment had ended 2 days earlier. She had told the girls she would visit the following week. She had lied only about the date. Surprise, Luz said. Mari stopped 3 feet away. For weeks, she had imagined telling her mother they were okay. Now, Luz was standing in front of her, looking at the clean hallway, the key in Mari's hand, and the name badge still clipped to her blouse. Mari tried to say something sensible. Instead, her face crumpled. Luz opened her arms. Come here, Anak. Mari did. Luz de la Cruz entered the apartment as if she were inspecting a new country. She checked the window locks first, then the smoke detector, then the stove, then the water pressure in the kitchen sink. Mum, Mari said, following her down the hall, it is an apartment, not a ship. Ships also need inspections. Isa carried the suitcase into the living room. You should have seen her when we rented our first room in Daly City. She checked behind the refrigerator. There were ants behind the refrigerator. That is not the point. It was exactly the point. Luce finally entered Mari's bedroom. She stopped. The room held very little. A bed, a lamp, a dresser, the work uniform hanging from the closet door. But Mari's shoes were lined beside the wall. Her backpack rested on a chair. A framed photo of the 3 de la Cruz women at Ocean Beach sat on the nightstand. Luz touched the top of the dresser. "You can leave your things here," she said softly. Mari knew what she meant. "Yeah." Luz turned to her. "And nobody asks you to move them?" "No." Her mother's eyes filled. Mari looked away first. "Please do not cry. Isa already made this dramatic." From the hallway, Isa called, "That is false." Luz laughed through the tears and pulled Mari into a hug. The foil-covered tray turned out to contain pancit, lumpia, and enough food for 6 people. Luz had also brought dried mangoes, instant coffee from a Filipino grocery outside Sacramento, 2 dish towels, and a small rice cooker she claimed every proper home required. "We have a pot," Mari protested. "A pot is not a rice cooker." "Millions of people survive without one." Luz looked genuinely concerned for those millions. That evening, the 3 women ate at the tiny kitchen table until every surface was crowded with plates. Isa described her technology classes. Mari described the hotel. Luz listened, asked practical questions, and refused to let either daughter minimize what had happened. "So Mr. Mercer gave you this apartment?" "No," Mari said immediately. "It is part of a transitional housing agreement. I pay a percentage. There are conditions. I signed a contract." Luz took a bite of pancit. "I did not accuse you of stealing it. I am explaining. You are defending. Different thing." Mari frowned. Isa pointed her fork at Luz. "Thank you. I have been saying that." "Nobody asked you." Luz smiled. "Some things do not become less earned because another person made them possible." Mari stared at her plate. She was getting tired of good advice arriving from every direction. The next day, Luz insisted on thanking Adrian in person. Mari resisted for 20 minutes. Luz won in 19. Adrian suggested they meet for lunch at the hotel restaurant rather than his office. He arrived without Evelyn and stood when Luz approached. "Mrs. de la Cruz." "Luz," she corrected, "and I brought you something." She handed him a paper bakery box. Adrian looked surprised. Inside were ensaimada from Tessa's bakery. "My daughters tell me you do not need money," Luz said. "So I brought bread." Adrian laughed. Mari covered her face with one hand. "Mum." "What?" "He eats." Lunch became easier after that. Luz thanked him once, directly, then changed the subject. She asked about his company, the housing project, and why a man with so many employees was spending time reviewing apartment rules for people he had never met. Adrian did not give a polished answer. He told her about Sophia, not everything, just enough. His daughter was a designer in Seattle. They had once been close. A disagreement over the direction of a family foundation had turned into stubbornness on both sides. Nothing terrible had happened. No unforgivable words. No single event anyone could point to. They had simply become careful with each other until careful became distant. Luz listened. "You still have her number?" she asked. Adrian blinked. "Yes." "Then you have a bridge." "It does not always feel like one." "A bridge does not guarantee someone crosses. It only means there is still a way." Mari looked at her mother. Luz shrugged. "I had a long bus ride. I became philosophical." 2 days later, Mari made her first significant mistake at the Grand Harbor. She had been trying to do too much. A guest services request came in for transportation for a corporate training group. Mari entered the time correctly, but selected the wrong pickup location from a drop-down menu. The shuttle arrived at the hotel's side entrance, while 20 guests waited in the main lobby. The delay was only 12 minutes. Mari experienced it as a personal collapse. She apologized to the group, redirected the driver, updated the event manager, and stayed late to verify the next morning's transportation schedule line by line. Daniel found her at 7:30, staring at a spreadsheet. "Go home." I'm checking tomorrow. Natalie already checked tomorrow. I should check it. Why? Mari looked at him as if the answer were obvious. Because I made the mistake. Daniel pulled out the chair beside her. Do you think permanent employees never click the wrong location? No. Do you think competent people never need someone else to catch something? Mari said nothing. Daniel folded his arms. You are trying to prove you deserve the job by behaving as if you do not require a team. That is not how hotels work. The sentence irritated her because it was accurate. I fixed it. You did. Good. Now learn the correct lesson. Which is? Check the field before submitting, and stop treating every mistake like evidence that someone made a bad decision by hiring you. Mari looked down at the spreadsheet. Daniel stood. You have someplace to be. She did. Issa was presenting her first-class project at 8. Mari arrived at the campus room with 4 minutes to spare. Issa stood beside a screen showing a simple prototype called Step Forward. It organized housing resources by opening hours, transit distance, documentation requirements, and whether a person could complete an application from a phone. The design was plain. The thinking was not. Issa explained that people under stress did not need 50 links. They needed to know what was open, what they qualified for, what documents to bring, and what to do if they lacked those documents. Mari sat in the back beside Luz. When Issa finished, her instructor asked where the idea came from. Issa glanced toward her sister. From getting tired of watching someone I love solve everything the hard way, she said. The class laughed softly. Mari did too. Afterward, outside beneath the campus lights, her phone buzzed. A message from Adrian. I texted Sophia. A second message arrived. She answered. Mari smiled at the screen. Luz noticed. Good news? Mari slipped the phone into her pocket. Somebody crossed a little bit of a bridge. Her mother smiled as if she understood exactly. By the end of Mari's second month at the Grand Harbour, she could tell what kind of day the hotel was having before she reached the front desk. A quiet lobby with bell carts lined neatly against the wall meant control. 2 managers speaking softly beside the elevators meant a problem that had not yet become public. Daniel walking quickly without his coffee meant everyone should pay attention. Natalie carrying 2 coffees meant she had already decided Mari would need one. That morning, Natalie handed her a cup. Do not say I never give you anything. Mari took it. You lost another challenge, didn't you? I am being gracious before destroying you in the next one. Their operations competition had become unofficial hotel entertainment. Daniel gave them scenarios every Friday. Natalie still won more often, especially when the problem involved staffing formulas or budget constraints. Mari won when the challenge depended on movement, timing, or understanding how people behaved when instructions were unclear. Neither admitted how much better they had become by competing. That Friday's challenge was different. Daniel placed 1 sheet of paper in front of each of them. The hotel is considering a new employee support program, he said. You have 1 week to propose something practical that improves retention for entry-level staff. Real budget. Real constraints. Best proposal goes to senior operations for review. Natalie's eyes lit up. Mari looked at Daniel. Is this still a game? Not anymore. For the rest of the day, Mari noticed things she had previously seen without connecting them. A banquet server storing a second pair of shoes in a plastic grocery bag because he came directly from another job. A new housekeeper asking where she could print a benefits form. A front desk trainee calculating whether he had enough time to take 2 buses home before returning for an early shift. None of these were emergencies. That was exactly why they were easy to ignore. At home, Mari covered the kitchen table with notes. Issa stepped around them carrying a bowl of cereal. You have become me. Take that back. There are flowcharts in our kitchen. Temporary flowcharts. That is how it starts. Mari's proposal became something she called First 90. New entry-level employees would receive a practical starter package during their first 3 months, 1 free transit pass for the first week, Access to a small secure locker area, scheduled computer hours for benefit forms, a uniform exchange instead of requiring people to replace damaged items immediately, and an emergency schedule board that made shift swaps easier without forcing employees to chase managers through 3 departments. She did not want a charity program. She wanted friction removed. Natalie's proposal focused on mentorship and cross-training, pairing new employees with experienced staff in another department once a week. It was organized, inexpensive, and smart. "Yours is good," Mari admitted when they exchanged drafts. Natalie looked suspicious. "Are you sick?" "Do not ruin the moment." Natalie read Mari's proposal. "Your budget table is terrible." "There it is." "But the idea is good." They spent their lunch break improving each other's weaknesses. Natalie fixed Mari's cost assumptions. Mari rewrote Natalie's employee survey questions because half of them sounded like they had been written by a committee trying to prove it knew what normal people sounded like. When Daniel reviewed the final proposals, he did not choose a winner. He combined them. "That is cheating," Natalie said. "It is management," Daniel replied. Mari stared at the approved pilot outline. Her idea and Natalie's idea had become one program. For reasons she could not explain, that felt better than winning. The same week, Adrian invited Mari to visit the building Mercer Pacific was considering for the transitional housing pilot. It stood on a residential block in Oakland, 3 stories of faded stucco with narrow balconies and a small courtyard that needed work. The building was not beautiful. Mari liked it immediately. Renee Castillo met them there with an architect and the property manager. They walked through empty units while discussing storage, laundry, common rooms, lighting, and kitchen layouts. In one studio, Mari stood beside the window and imagined arriving with 2 backpacks and no certainty about how long she could stay. "Put hooks here," she said. The architect looked at the wall. "Hooks?" "For bags, jackets, work uniforms. People need somewhere to put the things they cannot afford to lose." He added it to the plan. Downstairs, Renee showed them the proposed resource room, computers along one wall, 2 printers, charging lockers, a cabinet for donated office supplies, a long table where residents could fill out forms or study. Issa's step-forward prototype would be tested on the computers once it was ready. Mari ran her fingers across the unfinished tabletop. "This is becoming real." Adrian stood beside her. "The board approved the pilot yesterday, 24 units, 12-month trial." Mari turned. "That fast?" "It does not feel fast from my side. You own a development company, which is why every wall apparently requires 18 meetings." She laughed. On the drive back to San Francisco, Adrian was quieter than usual. Mari noticed but did not ask until they reached the bridge. "Did Sophia text again?" He looked over, surprised. "You have become intrusive. You started it by investigating my employment history." "Fair." He looked out the window. "She is coming to San Francisco next month for a design conference. She agreed to have dinner." "That is good." "It is a meal." "You invited 2 homeless strangers to dinner and changed 3 people's lives. Do not underestimate meals." Adrian smiled. Then his expression became uncertain. "What if we have nothing to say?" Mari thought of every conversation she had avoided because she feared needing something from the person across from her. "Then do not start with the years you missed," she said. "Start with dinner." Adrian was silent for a moment. "Luce says things like that. I am trying to improve my reputation, so please do not tell her." At the hotel, Mari's 90-day review appeared on the calendar sooner than she expected. She spent the morning pretending not to think about it. At 3, Daniel called her into his office. Natalie was already there. Mari stopped in the doorway. "Why is she here?" "Witness," Natalie said solemnly. "To what?" Daniel slid a folder across the desk. "Your probationary period ends next week. I am offering you a permanent guest services coordinator position with a pay increase." Mari did not touch the folder. "Permanent. That is generally what the word means." "Because Adrian owns the hotel?" Daniel's expression hardened just enough to answer before he spoke. No. He turned the folder toward her. Inside were performance notes, attendance, guest feedback, training scores, incident response, team evaluations, specific examples from the robotics arrival, transportation error, first 90 proposal, and dozens of ordinary shifts no billionaire had witnessed. Evidence, not gratitude, not a favor. Evidence. Mary read the first page twice. Natalie leaned toward her. If you cry, I'm telling everyone. Mary looked up with wet eyes. I hate you. Permanent co-workers, Natalie said. Get used to it. Mary signed the offer. That night, she placed the new employment letter beside Adrian's old note in the nightstand drawer. The door is yours now. What happens after this is up to you. For the first time, Mary felt she had an answer. 3 months after Mary found Adrian Mercer's wallet, she stood outside a freshly painted apartment building in Oakland. A small sign near the entrance read, Open Door Housing Pilot. No Mercer name. No photograph of Adrian. No mention of the wallet. Mary approved. You look like you are judging the sign, Issa said beside her. I am judging the font. You do not know anything about fonts. I live with a technology student. Expertise transfers. Issa rolled her eyes. Luz arrived a minute later carrying a foil-covered tray of lumpia, ignoring Marie's reminder that the open house already had catering. The building had changed dramatically since Marie's first visit. The courtyard held simple benches and potted plants. The resource room had computers, printers, charging lockers, transit information, job resources, and basic office supplies. Every studio had a bed, a table, a lamp, shelves, and hooks near the door. The hooks made Mari smile. In the shared kitchen, 2 rice cookers sat on a counter beside ordinary pots. She pointed at them. Did you do that? She asked Luz. I have influence. Issa whispered. She complained to Renee for 20 minutes. It was education. The first residents would move in the following Monday. The open house brought together staff, partners, and the people who had helped design the pilot. Mari expected Adrian to give a speech. He refused. Renee Castillo welcomed everyone instead. She explained the program, thanked the non-profit partners, and introduced the resident support team. She described the flexible evening intake hours, transit support, work-compatible scheduling, and technology resources. Then she said, a surprising number of our best policies began with one question. What does this rule feel like to the person who has to live under it? Mari felt Issa look at her. She kept her eyes forward. After the remarks, Adrian appeared beside the twins. Come with me, he said. Mari narrowed her eyes. That sentence has caused problems before. You survived dinner. Barely. He led them through the resource room and down a short hallway to a smaller office near the back of the building. Luz followed with the lumpia tray. The office door was closed. Adrian opened it. Inside, one wall held a large framed panel covered by plain brown paper. Mari stopped. Absolutely not. Adrian looked confused. You do not even know what it is. If that is a giant photograph of us, I am leaving. Issa nodded. Same, Luz said. If it is a good photograph, we discuss first. Mom, Adrian laughed. It is not a photograph. He pulled away the paper. The panel underneath contained a simple heading, The Open Door Principles. Below it were 6 short lines. Respect people's time. Make rules fit real lives. Offer choices whenever possible. Do not make someone explain their dignity before receiving basic respect. Create a path forward, not a permanent debt. Measure people by what they do when nobody is watching. Mari stopped breathing normally. She knew the last line. Her mother had said versions of it throughout their childhood. She had said it when Mari was a child in Quezon City, after the family moved to California, and during the twins' hardest weeks. Mari turned toward Luz. Her mother was already crying. Not heavily, just quiet tears she did not bother wiping away. You told him? Mari whispered. Luz shook her head. Issa did. During the technology meeting, Issa admitted, Renee asked what Mom always said. Mary looked at Adrian. "Why put it on the wall?" He did not answer immediately. Then he said, "Because I did not want this building to become another project that forgot why it existed after the opening day." He pointed to the first 5 lines. "Those came from the meetings. Yours, Renee's, the staff's, the residents who reviewed the plans. The last one explains why the meetings happened at all." Mary's throat tightened. "This is because of the wallet." "It started because of the wallet," Adrian said. "That is different." She looked at him. He continued, "You and Issa could have used that money. I knew that the moment I learned where you were sleeping, but you returned it anyway. I kept thinking about how easy it would have been for me to give you a check and decide I had done something generous." Mary remembered the envelope she had refused. "You were very determined about that check. I was being efficient. You were being a billionaire. Also possible." Luce laughed softly through her tears. Adrian's expression grew serious again. "You did not need one generous afternoon. You needed systems that did not turn ordinary setbacks into permanent ones. So I asked myself a question I should have asked years ago. How many people are one deposit, one late bus, one application fee, or one temporary room away from being able to move forward?" He glanced toward the hallway. "This building is one answer. Not the answer. One." Issa covered her mouth with one hand. Mary looked through the office window into the resource room. A coordinator demonstrated the charging lockers. Renee organized intake folders. In the kitchen, Lucy's rice cooker campaign sat in stainless steel victory. Everything was ordinary. That made it more powerful. Adrian handed Mary a folder. She stared at it. "I have learned to fear your folders. This one is not a gift." Inside was an offer for a 6-month paid advisory position with the Open Door pilot, 8 hours a month, scheduled around her hotel job. Issa had a separate offer to continue developing Step Forward as a paid student contractor, once her instructor approved the arrangement. Mary read every line. "You really cannot help yourself, can you?" "I am improving slowly. There is a termination clause. Evelyn insisted you would look for one. There is an hourly rate. Work should be paid. You taught us that in meeting one." Mary looked at Issa. Her twin was crying now too, smiling at the same time. For once, Mary did not fight her own tears. She thought of the sidewalk, the rain, the weight of $12,000 in her hands, and how certain she had been that returning the wallet meant choosing hardship over an easier life. She had been wrong about the choice. The choice had never been between money and hardship. It had been between letting desperation decide who she became and deciding for herself. Everything after that had required the same decision in different forms. Accept the interview without surrendering her pride. Accept the apartment without calling herself rescued. Make a mistake without deciding she was a mistake. Take advice without becoming dependent on the person giving it. Walk through a door and still choose her own direction. Mary closed the folder. "I have questions," she said. Adrian smiled. "I expected nothing less." Outside, Renee called everyone back into the courtyard for a group photo. Mary started to object. Then she saw the future residents standing near the front, each holding a welcome packet and a key envelope. This photograph was not about a billionaire and 2 girls who found his wallet. It was about a building full of doors. Mary stepped beside Issa and Luce. Adrian stood on the other side, leaving a respectful space until Luce pulled him closer by the sleeve. The photographer raised the camera. "Ready?" Mary looked at the people around her. 3 months earlier, she would have said she was not. Now she smiled. "Ready." The first residents moved into Open Door on a Monday morning, and Mary discovered within 20 minutes that helping people was more complicated than designing rules for them. She had taken the morning off from the Grand Harbour to observe intake. Renee Castillo had insisted that advisors should see what happened after the meetings ended, and the keys became real. Mary arrived at 7:30 with coffee, a notebook, and the confidence of someone who had spent 3 months identifying everything a housing program could do wrong. By 9, she had already been corrected twice. The first resident was a 20-year-old woman named Tiana Reed, who worked afternoon shifts at a grocery store and attended community college 2 mornings a week. She arrived carrying a duffel bag, a backpack and a plastic container filled with documents. Mari immediately noticed the container. "You can put those in the secure cabinet until you get settled," she said, "and there are charging lockers in the resource room if your phone is low. The printer is free, and if you need transit information—" Tiana looked at her. "I'm okay." "I know. I just mean the building has—" "I read the packet." Mari stopped. Tiana was not rude. That made the moment worse. She simply looked tired and slightly overwhelmed, exactly as Mari had looked when people offered instructions she had not requested. Renee, standing near the intake table, did not interrupt. Mari stepped back. "Right," she said. "Sorry. Welcome." Tiana nodded and followed a staff member upstairs. Renee waited until she was gone. "You lasted 6 minutes." Mari frowned. "Before what?" "Before trying to fix somebody." "I was explaining resources." She already had the packet. Mari crossed her arms. "You enjoyed that?" "A little." The comment stayed with her through the morning. Residents arrived one by one. A dishwasher who worked closing shifts, a trainee electrician saving for a security deposit, a student who had been sleeping on a cousin's couch and wanted only one thing from the program: a place quiet enough to study. Each person had a different problem, different pride, different idea of what help was supposed to look like. Mari had spent weeks arguing that systems should fit real lives. Somehow she had forgotten that real lives also included people who did not want a stranger narrating their needs back to them. Around noon, she found Tiana in the resource room staring at the step-forward screen Issa had helped install. Mari considered walking past. Tiana looked up first. "Your sister built this?" "Most of it. Her class likes to remind her it's still a prototype." "It says the community college emergency grant can cover textbooks." "Apparently." "Do you know how to apply?" Mari almost began explaining. Then she stopped herself. "Do you want me to show you, or do you want the link?" Tiana studied her for a moment. "Show me." So Mari pulled over a chair. The application took 11 minutes. Tiana did most of it herself. Mari showed her where to upload a document and said nothing when she did not need to say anything. When they finished, Tiana leaned back. "You used to live in a program like this?" Mari shook her head. "Not exactly. My sister and I had a rough few weeks. This apartment program came after. People keep acting like I should be excited." Mari understood immediately. "You don't have to perform gratitude." Tiana's expression softened. "Good, because I'm grateful, but I'm also tired. You can be both." That afternoon, Mari wrote only one sentence in her advisory notebook: "Do not confuse knowing a problem with knowing a person." At the Grand Harbor the next day, Daniel noticed the sentence when she left the notebook open beside the reservation computer. "That from the housing project?" "Yes." "Expensive lesson?" "Free, unfortunately. I prefer lessons I can blame on tuition." Natalie leaned over from the next station. "What did you do?" "I became annoying." Natalie stared at her. "Became?" Mari pointed toward the lobby. "Go help someone." The hotel was beginning its first 90 pilot that week. 23 new employees across housekeeping, banquets, front desk, maintenance, and food service had been enrolled. Mari and Natalie had volunteered to help train supervisors on the new shift swap system and mentorship schedule. The first problem appeared immediately. Managers loved the program, employees were less certain. A banquet trainee named Luis asked whether using the transit pass would be reported as financial assistance. A new housekeeper worried that asking for uniform exchange would make her look careless. Another employee assumed the computer hours were only for people who did not own laptops and said she did not want anyone knowing she needed them. Mari recognized the pattern. A benefit could become a label if people were made to explain why they needed it. She and Natalie changed the rollout by Friday. Instead of requiring employees to request individual support, every new hire received the same starter access card. Transit credit, computer reservations, lockers, mentorship, and uniform exchange were presented as standard employment tools. No explanation required. Daniel read the revised policy. This was not in the original proposal. The original proposal was written before people used it. He nodded once. Keep going. Saturday evening, Murray received a text from Adrian. Dinner happened. She knew exactly what he meant. She typed, and 3 dots appeared, disappeared, and returned. 2 hours. No argument. We discussed her design conference, my terrible coffee, and a restaurant in Seattle she thinks I would hate. Murray smiled. That sounds almost normal. Another pause. It was. She looked across the apartment. Issa was at the table debugging Step Forward, while Luz folded laundry on the couch and complained that American dryers destroyed fabric. The rice cooker clicked in the kitchen. Mari typed one more message. Don't rush it, Adrian answered quickly. I won't. The response surprised her more than the dinner. 3 months earlier, Adrian Mercer had tried to solve the twins' entire future with an envelope and a check. Mari had tried to solve Tiana's first hour at Open Door with a list of resources. Different scale, same instinct. People who cared could still make the mistake of believing care gave them permission to take control. Mari had once thought strength meant refusing anything that might create a debt. Now she was beginning to understand something more difficult. Strength also meant knowing when to step forward, when to accept a hand, and when to move aside so someone else could choose for themselves. On Sunday morning, she returned to Open Door for the weekly resident meeting. Tiana was already there. She lifted a paper cup toward Mari. Hey, the textbook grant got approved. Mari grinned. That's great. Tiana nodded. Then she added, thanks for showing me. Mari almost said anytime. Instead, she remembered her notebook. You're welcome. And she sat down with everyone else. 4 weeks later, Open Door had 23 occupied units, 1 empty studio, and a problem nobody had predicted during the design meetings. People were avoiding the weekly check-ins. The rule had seemed harmless. Residents were asked to meet with a support coordinator once each week for 15 minutes. The purpose was to catch problems early. Work changes, school paperwork, transportation issues, savings goals, lease questions. Nothing punitive. Nothing complicated. Still, attendance had fallen below 60%. At the Monday advisory meeting, the property manager placed a chart on the screen. We may need consequences, he said. Not serious ones. A written reminder after the first missed appointment. A formal notice after 3. Mari felt the old reaction rise immediately. Rules, warnings, paper trails. She opened her mouth, then stopped. 3 months earlier, she would have argued from instinct. Now she looked at the chart. Can we see the appointment times? The manager changed the slide. Most were scheduled between 9 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. Mari glanced at Renee. Renee was already smiling. Don't, Mari said. I didn't say anything. Your face did. They reviewed the missed appointments. More than half belonged to residents working hourly jobs. Several had schedules posted only a few days in advance. 2 attended classes during the available windows. 1 had missed because a bus route changed. Before we create consequences, Mari said, we should find out whether the appointment is actually useful to them. The property manager leaned back. You think they don't need support? I think needing support and needing a Tuesday appointment at 2:15 are different things. Renee proposed a resident survey. Marie proposed something simpler first. Ask them, in person, tonight. That evening, 15 residents gathered in the common room. No podium, no presentation. Pizza boxes sat open on the long table, and Issa had put a QR code on the wall for anyone who preferred to answer anonymously through Step Forward. The feedback came quickly. 1 resident said 15 minutes often became 40. Another disliked repeating the same information every week when nothing had changed. Tiana said she sometimes wanted advice, but did not want to choose between a meeting and an extra shift. A young man named Caleb asked why every check-in had to be face-to-face. My bank lets me confirm my identity from my phone, he said. Why can't I tell you I'm still employed from my phone? Issa immediately started typing. Mari pointed at her. Do not build anything before the meeting ends. I'm taking notes. Your notes have code brackets. People laughed. By the end of the hour, the solution was obvious. Residents would complete 1 full meeting each month. Weekly check-ins could happen by text, phone, app, or in person. Anyone requesting help could schedule longer sessions. Staff could still reach out if rent payments, employment, school attendance, or another agreed goal changed significantly. Support would remain available. Surveillance would not pretend to be support. 2 weeks after the change, participation rose above 90%. The property manager showed Mari the new chart. "You are going to be unbearable about this, aren't you?" "For at least 3 business days." Renee said 24 hours. Renee negotiates badly. At the Grand Harbor, First 90 was producing its own surprises. The shift swap board became so popular that employees began posting requests too late for supervisors to verify coverage. Natalie wanted to add restrictions. Marie wanted to simplify approval. Daniel told them to test both ideas for 1 week. Natalie's version reduced mistakes but slowed exchanges. Marie's version increased speed but created 2 scheduling conflicts. Neither worked well enough. On Friday, they combined the best pieces: a deadline for same-day changes, automatic supervisor alerts, and a list of trained employees approved for each role. Marie stared at the final system. "I hate how often compromise works." Natalie smiled. "How you thought growth would feel more dramatic." "I hoped for music. Budget cuts." Outside work, Mari and Issa had started doing something they had avoided for months. They were saving for their own apartment, not the reduced rent they paid through the temporary housing arrangement. A regular lease, full deposit, full rent, their names, their responsibility. Every payday, Mari moved a fixed amount into a savings account labeled Next Door. Issa contributed from her student contractor work on Step Forward. The amounts were modest at first, then larger as Marie's permanent raise took effect and Issa received additional paid development hours. Luz discovered the account when Issa accidentally left the spreadsheet open. "Why is it called Next Door?" Mari shrugged. "Because the next place needs a door." Luz looked at the total. "You're doing well." "We're not there yet." "I did not say you were there. I said you're doing well." Those are different sentences. Mari had no argument for that. The Step Forward beta expanded beyond Open Door that month. Issa's instructor connected her with 2 community organizations that wanted to test it. The tool remained simple on purpose. Instead of presenting hundreds of resources, it asked a few questions and showed what was open, what documents were required, whether appointments were available after work hours, and how long the trip would take by public transportation. Luz reviewed the interface one evening and frowned. "Can you make the language easier?" Issa looked offended. "It is already written at an 8th grade reading level." "I mean language. Spanish, Tagalog, maybe Chinese later. People understand more when they are tired if they can read words that feel familiar." Issa became quiet. Then she turned her laptop back toward herself. "That is annoyingly good. I gave birth to you. I have experience." Within 3 weeks, Step Forward added Spanish and Tagalog menus, with community volunteers reviewing translations for clarity. Issa insisted that direct translations were not enough. Instructions had to sound natural, not like government forms passed through software. Mari tested the Tagalog version at the kitchen table. Some phrases made her laugh. Others made her unexpectedly emotional. The language reminded her of Quezon City mornings, crowded jeepneys, her mother's voice calling from another room, and the strange sensation of belonging to more than one place at once. She corrected a sentence and handed the laptop back. "Better." Issa looked at her. "You okay?" "Yeah." Mari glanced toward the apartment window. San Francisco lights reflected in the glass. Behind her, Luz was making tea. On the screen, a tool created by her twin carried words from the country where they were born into a program designed for people trying to find stability in the country where they now lived. For years, Mari had thought progress meant leaving difficult things behind. She was beginning to see another version. Sometimes progress meant carrying the useful parts with you, not the fear, not the shame, the language, the discipline, the memory of people who taught you how to keep your name when everything else felt temporary. That night, before closing the savings spreadsheet, Mari added one more line beneath next door. Goal date, 6 months. For once, the future did not feel like a promise someone else had made. It looked like a plan. Sophia Mercer arrived in San Francisco on a bright Thursday in March, carrying a canvas portfolio bag, and none of the dramatic energy Mari had expected from someone whose name had quietly shaped the previous 6 months. Mari met her by accident. She was leaving the open-door resource room after an advisory session when she saw Adrian standing in the courtyard beside a woman in her early 30s with dark auburn hair, white sneakers, and a navy jacket covered with tiny paint marks near one cuff. Adrian looked different, not happier exactly, careful, but it was a softer kind of careful than before. He saw Mari and raised a hand. Mari. The woman turned. Mari immediately recognized her eyes. This is my daughter, Sophia. Sophia smiled and extended her hand. The wallet twin. Mari closed her eyes. Adrian looked horrified. Sophia laughed. Sorry, Evelyn told me you hate that. I wanted to see whether it was true. It is extremely true. Good, we agree on something already. Adrian exhaled as though he had been holding his breath since Seattle. Sophia had come to the Bay Area for a design conference and agreed to visit Open Door because her studio specialized in community spaces. Adrian had not asked her to work on the project. Mari knew that because he explained it twice. He is very proud of not asking, Sophia said. I am practicing boundaries. He says that now. Mari tried not to smile. Renee joined them and gave Sophia a tour. They discussed lighting, shared spaces, storage, and the furniture choices residents had liked or disliked. Sophia asked more questions than she answered. She photographed worn corners instead of pretty rooms. In the kitchen, she crouched to inspect the height of an outlet beside a counter. Mari watched Adrian watch her. There was pride in his face, but he did not interrupt. That restraint seemed to cost him something. Later, Sophia found Mari alone near the courtyard gate. Can I ask you something? Mari nodded. Sophia leaned against the wall. Why did you bring the wallet back? Mari almost laughed. Your father asked me the same thing. He probably made it sound like a board interview. Little. So. Mari looked across the courtyard. Because keeping it would have solved problems, but it would have created a version of me I didn't want to become. Sophia nodded slowly. He told me you refused the reward, too. That part may have been excessive. Sophia smiled. Then her expression changed. Thank you for returning the note. Mari understood. That was yours. Technically, it was his. Same argument. Sophia looked toward her father. I wrote it when I was angry with him. I wanted him to listen. Instead, he carried it around for 5 years and still didn't listen. He is better now. I noticed. Mari waited. Sophia continued quietly. We're not suddenly fixed. You don't have to be. He calls on Sundays now. Sometimes we talk 10 minutes, sometimes 40. Last week we argued about whether a public bench needs armrests. Who won? There should not have been a winner. Mari smiled. You are definitely related. That afternoon, Sophia offered Renee a proposal to consult on the design of a second open-door site if the pilot expanded. The proposal included her studio's normal rate, a reduced non-profit schedule, and a clause requiring resident design sessions before final plans. Adrian did not negotiate it. He did not even read over Sophia's shoulder. Mari considered that remarkable progress. Her own professional life shifted the following week. Daniel called her into a meeting with the regional operations director for 3 Grand Harbor properties. Natalie sat beside Mari, suspiciously quiet. The director placed a binder on the table. First 90 reduced early employee turnover at this property by 18% during the pilot period, she said. Not enough data for conclusions yet, but enough to expand testing. We want a small implementation team across 3 hotels. Mari waited. Daniel recommended you and Natalie. Natalie whispered, try to look surprised. Mari ignored her. The assignment would last 6 months. It came with additional pay, travel between properties and responsibility for training supervisors and collecting employee feedback. Mari's first question came automatically. Did Adrian Mercer approve this? The regional director looked confused. Mr. Mercer, no, this is an operations initiative. Daniel opened the binder to the recommendation page. His signature appeared first. Below it were 3 department managers, none of whom had anything to gain by flattering Adrian. Evidence again. Mary felt the same quiet relief she had felt at her 90-day review. Then she saw the final page. The implementation team would present preliminary results at the company's annual operations meeting. 200 managers, a stage, a microphone. Mary closed the binder. No. Natalie turned. Excuse me? I can do the implementation. For you do the presentation. Absolutely not. Daniel leaned back. Why? Mary knew the answer and hated it. She had become comfortable being useful in rooms where people already knew her. A stage was different. Public attention still carried the memory of being described as a homeless girl who found a billionaire's wallet. She did not want one story following her into every room before her work arrived. I don't like being displayed, she said. The regional director nodded. Fair. But presenting work you led is not the same as being displayed. Mary looked at the binder. Natalie nudged her arm. Also, if you make me present your transit access charts alone, I will mispronounce every label on purpose. You are a terrible person. And yet management keeps me. Mary laughed despite herself. She accepted the assignment with one condition, no mention of the wallet in her introduction. The regional director did not hesitate. Why would there be? The answer stayed with Mary all day. Why would there be? For months she had feared that one extraordinary morning would become the only explanation anyone needed for everything that followed. But the farther she moved, the more ordinary evidence accumulated behind her. Shifts completed, mistakes corrected, policies improved, people listened to. Work finished when nobody important was watching. The annual meeting came 6 weeks later. Mary stood behind the curtain while Natalie adjusted the clicker. You nervous? Natalie asked. No. Liar. Deeply. Better. Their names appeared on the screen. Natalie Brooks, Guest Services Coordinator. Marisol de la Cruz, Guest Services Coordinator. Nothing else. Mary stared at her name. No wallet, no billionaire, no homelessness, no explanation, just the work she had done. When the moderator called them forward, Mary walked onto the stage. The lights were brighter than she expected. 200 faces looked back. For 1 second, she remembered the security desk at Mercer Pacific and the feeling of standing in wet shoes where she seemed not to belong. Then Natalie handed her the clicker. Mary turned toward the first slide. Good morning, she said. We designed First 90 because small problems become expensive when nobody notices them early. Her voice did not shake, and this time nobody needed to know how she had learned that. 11 months after Mary found the wallet, the twins were denied an apartment because they did not have enough rental history. The irony would have been funny if Mary had not been standing on a sidewalk in Oakland holding a printed rejection email. Issa read it over her shoulder. They like our income. They like our references. They like our credit. They dislike that our previous lease is transitional housing. Mary folded the paper once. So they don't like our rental history. Correct. I was translating corporate poetry. They had spent 6 weeks looking for a modest 2-bedroom near public transportation, one they could afford on their own income. They had saved the deposit. They had built credit. Mari had a permanent job. Issa was nearly finished with her certificate and still earned money developing Step Forward. Still, the first landlord wanted 2 years of rental references. The second required income higher than theirs. The third accepted their application, then requested a larger deposit because their housing record was short. Mari refused. By the fourth rejection, the old panic returned in a quieter form. Not the fear of sleeping in a laundromat that night, the fear that stability might always belong to people who already had proof they had once been stable. At the open-door advisory meeting the next day, Mari said almost nothing. Renee noticed. What happened? Nothing. That answer should be illegal in this building, Mari told her. Renee listened, then opened a cabinet and pulled out a brochure. Use the lease guarantee partnership. Mari stared at it. Open Door had created the program with a local non-profit. Qualified renters with limited history could receive a guarantee letter for the first year. Participants still paid their own rent and deposit. The letter simply replaced history they had not yet had time to build. Mari pushed the brochure back. That's for residents. You are a resident. Formerly unstable residents. People who need... Renee raised one hand. Be very careful how you finish that sentence. Mari stopped. Renee slid the brochure toward her again. You helped design a system because people were being blocked by problems that had nothing to do with their ability to succeed. Now the system applies to you and suddenly using it feels like weakness? Mari looked away. I want to do this ourselves. You are doing it yourselves. A guarantee letter does not pay your rent. It does not go to work for you. It does not save your deposit. It tells a landlord that missing history is not the same as missing responsibility. Mari hated how reasonable that sounded. That evening she told Isa. Isa stared at her for 3 seconds. Obviously we use it. You could pretend to struggle with the decision. I watched you spend 11 months learning this lesson. I refuse to repeat the curriculum. They applied. 2 weeks later, a property manager in Alameda called while Mari was at the hotel. Your application is approved, he said. Mari sat down in an empty office. Approved? The man laughed. Yes, lease starts May 1st if that still works for you. She thanked him, ended the call and remained seated for a full minute. Then she texted Isa one word. Home. Isa called immediately and screamed loudly enough that Mari held the phone away from her ear. Their new apartment was smaller than the transitional unit and older by at least 30 years. The kitchen cabinets had been painted so many times that the corners were rounded. The bathroom fan made a sound like a distant airplane. One bedroom faced an alley. Mari loved it before the lease was finished printing. They paid the deposit from next door. Every dollar. On moving day, Natalie arrived with boxes stolen legally from the hotel supply room. Daniel brought a hand truck. Tiana came from Open Door with 2 residents who claimed they were helping only because Mari had once spent an hour teaching them how to compare lease fees. Luz arrived with food. Of course. Adrian arrived last. Mari opened the door and looked at the small cardboard box in his hands. If that is expensive, you are taking it back. Hello to you too. What is it? A toolkit. She narrowed her eyes. He opened the box. Screwdrivers, measuring tape, pliers, a small level, picture hooks, and a flashlight. Mari looked at him. This is surprisingly normal. Sophia chose it. That explains everything. Adrian nodded toward the kitchen, where Luz was directing 3 adults as if managing a commercial move. I considered a coffee machine. Mom would have inspected the voltage and returned it. Sophia said something similar. The mention of his daughter came more easily now. Sophia and Adrian still lived in different cities and still disagreed, but Sunday calls had become routine. Sophia had also won a paid design contract for the proposed second Open Door site through an independent selection process. Progress had become ordinary. Mari liked that too. That afternoon, she returned to the transitional apartment one final time. The rooms were empty except for 2 folding chairs and the rice cooker Luz had replaced with a larger model for the new apartment. Isa stood in the doorway of their old bedroom. Weird. Yeah. Mari opened the nightstand drawer. Adrian's note was still there. The door is yours now. What happens after this is up to you. She had kept it folded beneath her employment letter for almost a year. Isa looked over her shoulder. Are you taking it? Mari thought about it. Then she folded it once more and placed it in her wallet. Yeah. At the Open Door office, Renee accepted their keys and completed the exit paperwork exactly as she would for any resident. No ceremony, no speech. Mari appreciated that. You know, Renee said as she signed the last page, most people don't stay involved with housing programs after they no longer need housing. Mari handed back the pen. Good thing you're paying me 8 hours a month. Capitalism saves compassion again. Work should be paid. I have heard that somewhere. Renee closed the folder. One more thing. Open Door's 1-year event is next Saturday. Adrian asked me to make sure you and Issa come, Mari groaned. Is there a giant photograph? Not that I know of. That answer is suspicious. Come anyway. 1 week later, Mari and Issa walked toward the original open-door building, carrying nothing except their phones and the keys to their own apartment. Mari noticed the difference immediately. A year earlier, every key she held had represented permission someone else could withdraw: a library locker, a borrowed room, temporary housing. Now the key in her pocket opened a lease with her name on it. It was not proof that she had done everything alone. She no longer needed that proof. It was proof that help could be a bridge without becoming a destination. As they reached the courtyard, Issa slowed. Why are there so many people here? Mari looked through the open gate. Residents, hotel employees, non-profit staff, city housing partners, Sophia, Daniel, Natalie, Luce, Evelyn, and dozens of people she did not recognize filled the courtyard. At the far end stood Adrian beside a covered display and a microphone he clearly did not want to use. Mari stopped. I knew there was something. Issa smiled nervously. Too late to leave. Mom saw us. Across the courtyard, Luce lifted one hand and pointed firmly toward 2 empty chairs in the front row. Mari sighed. Definitely too late. She and Issa walked in together. Adrian Mercer had spent most of his adult life speaking to crowded rooms, yet when he stepped to the microphone in the open-door courtyard, he looked as if he would rather negotiate a billion-dollar construction contract. Reassuring. He waited until the conversation settled. I was told to keep this short, he said. From the front row, Sophia called, You were told repeatedly. Laughter moved through the courtyard. Adrian looked at his daughter and smiled. Repeatedly. Mari glanced at Issa. A year earlier, she could not have imagined that sound coming from either of them. Adrian continued. Open Door began as 24 apartments, a resource room, and a simple idea. Temporary instability should not become permanent, because systems are inconvenient, inflexible, or impossible to understand. He looked toward Renee. The pilot did not solve every problem. It taught us which questions we had been asking wrong. Behind him, a large panel remained covered with fabric. Mari became increasingly suspicious. Adrian briefly described the first year. Residents had moved into leases, kept saving, changed jobs, studied, paused school, and chosen different paths. None of it was presented as a moral scorecard. People are not projects, Adrian said. Sophia lowered her eyes and smiled. Mari knew where the sentence had come from. What we can build are better conditions for people to make their own decisions. Adrian stepped away from the microphone and pulled the fabric from the display. The first thing Mari saw was a number. $12,000. Issa inhaled sharply. Below it were the words, Open Door Independence Fund. Mari stared. Adrian returned to the microphone. 1 year ago, I lost a wallet containing $12,000. 2 young women who needed that money far more than I did returned every dollar. I offered them a reward. They refused it. Then I made several additional mistakes while attempting to help them. Laughter moved through the crowd, but Mari's eyes were already burning. Adrian looked directly at the twins. This is not a reward to Marisol and Isabella de la Cruz. Mercer Pacific is providing the initial endowment for an independent non-profit fund, supporting transitional housing, lease guarantees, employment access, and practical technology tools. Other partners are joining us. Mari's hand found Issa's. Why $12 million? Because $12,000 once looked like the answer to 2 people with nowhere stable to sleep, and they still refused to take what was not theirs. That choice forced me to ask what my resources were actually for. I want the answer to outlast the story. Issa covered her mouth. Mari felt tears move down her face and did not wipe them away. But Adrian was not finished. One condition is written into the fund's charter. At least 1/3 of its governing advisory seats must always be held by people with direct experience of housing instability or the programs we support. Decisions about people's lives will not be made only by people who have never lived them. Renee began clapping first. The courtyard followed. Mari looked at Adrian through blurred vision. That was the part that broke her composure completely. Not the $12 million. The seats. A year earlier she had entered his office as a stranger, whose wet clothes seemed to explain her to everyone. Now lived experience was not being hidden or displayed as inspiration. It had been written into the structure as expertise. Adrian raised one hand. One last thing. Sophia walked forward, carrying a smaller framed panel, and turned it toward the audience. 2 sentences appeared side by side. Do not measure yourself by what you have. Measure yourself by what you do when nobody is watching. Beside it was the Tagalog version. Huwag mong sukatin ang sarili mo sa kung ano ang mayroon ka. Sukatin mo ang sarili mo sa ginagawa mo kapag walang nakatingin. Luz made a sound behind Mari. Mari turned. Her mother was crying openly. Mom, Isa whispered. Luz shook her head, smiling through tears. I am allowed. Sophia explained that the words would appear in every open-door resource room, translated with community review into the languages most familiar to residents. They were not a test of who deserved help. They were a reminder that dignity could not be measured by income, address, or a temporary condition. Mari looked at Adrian. You asked her first? He nodded toward Luz. I am learning. Luz pointed at him. Slowly. Everyone laughed again. After the ceremony, Adrian found the twins near the kitchen. He held no envelope. Mari noticed immediately. Good start, she said. I thought you might appreciate that. Isa wiped her eyes. $12 million is a very billionaire response to being told not to give us a reward. Adrian considered this. That criticism seems fair. Mari looked through the open doorway at residents, staff, and visitors moving through the building. Why didn't you tell us? Because I wanted the fund approved before making promises, and because this is not yours to carry. You helped start the question. You are not responsible for fixing everyone who comes after you. Mari turned toward him. For months she had felt responsible for justifying every opportunity she received, as if gratitude had to become permanent productivity. Adrian seemed to understand that danger now. You get to have your own life, he said. Both of you. Isa nodded. Mari smiled. We know. And she meant it. The years that followed were hopeful, never perfect. Open Door expanded carefully. A second site opened 18 months later, with resident-designed common areas through Sophia's studio. Another partnership focused only on lease guarantees. Some ideas worked. Others changed after resident feedback. Step Forward became an open-source platform supported by non-profits across Northern California. Isa completed her technology program and later led a small product team. She refused to turn the resource directory into an advertising business. Some tools should stay useful before they become profitable, she said. Mari stayed in hospitality. That surprised people who assumed Open Door would become her future. But she loved hotel operations and the small decisions that kept complicated days from becoming chaos. First 90 expanded to 5 properties. Mari became an assistant operations manager and helped build a paid training partnership, connecting hotels with community organizations. She earned each promotion through evidence. Work completed, mistakes corrected, people trusted. Adrian and Sophia never pretended the distant years had vanished. They built routine instead. Sunday calls, meals, design arguments, birthdays that were no longer polite messages. Adrian learned to ask, "Do you want advice or do you want me to listen?" Sophia said he still got it wrong sometimes. Luz returned permanently to the Bay Area and worked fewer caregiving hours. On Sundays, the twins visited her apartment, where she continued feeding anyone who came near the kitchen. The black wallet stayed in Adrian's pocket with Sophia's note inside. On the anniversary of the day she found it, Mari sometimes passed the same San Francisco corner. The pharmacy was now a small market. Thousands crossed the sidewalk without knowing what had happened there. Mari liked that. The most important choice of her life had happened when nobody was watching. So had many of the choices that followed. A sister choosing honesty over desperation. A mother teaching her daughters that dignity could survive temporary circumstances. A wealthy man learning that opening a door did not give him the right to choose where someone walked. A daughter answering. A text. a young woman accepting help without surrendering ownership of her future. Mari had once believed independence meant needing nothing from anyone. She knew better now. Independence was not the absence of bridges. It was crossing them on your own feet, carrying your name, your choices, and your dignity with you.